morning. This is obviously not a Kilter board. I'm not Kilter boarding this week. I qualified for 8T finals last week. Let's talk about it. First of all, welcome back to the channel, if you're new here. My name's Lilo. I'm a climber. And this channel is pretty much about the process that goes into climbing competitively and training hard. So it's a lot of me falling, failing, and working on stuff, and not a lot of sending. So if you want to see sending, go check out my Instagram, which is LiluWB, and I'll put that here somewhere. You will see some sends on here, but not always a whole bunch. So I made it into Nomad Bouldering's 8T finals, which is their social comp for Gladesville. Basically, the way that runs is climbers all have a month to finish 8 of their hardest climbs that they can. And so I spent the past month trying as hard as I physically could in all of my sessions, trying to get as many hard climbs as I physically could because I really wanted to make finals. Spoiler alert, obviously, I did make finals. That's why I'm making this video. So, working on so many hard projects for a month was, I'm not gonna lie, it was really tiring. I spent so many sessions getting really frustrated at the same climb. I knew how to do the moves and I understood the beta, but I couldn't quite get it. Like I was either missing something about my body positioning. There was one climb specifically that I literally got the Wednesday that score logging closed. I was so happy when I got it and just completely fried my fingers to get it. And that's the other thing, because I was climbing so hard for so long. Basically all my sessions were at Gladesville. All of the holds are really nice and really new, but that means they've got a lot of texture. So I basically completely burnt through my fingers several times. I bled through my tips 3 times, which was the first 3 times I've ever done it. One of which was actually in the comp, which I will show you guys in a minute what that climb was. So I really had to fight to make finals. It wasn't like an easy given thing. I was trying my hardest. I ended up getting a pink, 3 reds, and then 4 blacks, which makes up my 8 scores. So it's 8T for 8 tops for 8 top scores. So things I do as pre-comp prep for every single competition to make sure that I'm ready to climb as hard as I can and prepared for anything in case it happens. Most common instance will be bleeding on the wall, which if you guys watch a lot of comps, you know if you start bleeding while you're on a comp climb, you have to stop climbing and tape yourself up before you can keep going. So I taped preemptively on one of these climbs. My fingers were all about to bleed. But on that note, the first thing I do is prep my skin. I'll prefer the Rhino skin. So I use the Repair when I'm like trying to obviously repair my skin. And then to get it ready for comp, I'll use the Tip Juice and I'll use the Performance because I have really sweaty hands for some reason. I mix Performance with the Tip Juice. That gets my skin to where I want it to be. It's very aggressive. I obviously counteracted after the comp by using a lot of Repair and moisturizers to bring my hands back up to a normal state, basically. The next thing that I do when I'm getting ready for a comp is refills. So I'll refill my chalk bags and make sure they're all full of chalk. I use a lot of chalk. I have really sweaty hands. Especially coming into summer, I need a lot of chalk. And I use a mixture of the Tokyo Black and the Tokyo Speed because I find it works really well with my hands. I also refill my tape. I don't know if you guys have watched a lot of competitions. There's a rule, generally speaking, if you start bleeding while you're climbing, you have to stop and stop the bleeding before you can get back on the wall, and the timer doesn't stop for you, which is stressful. I always want to make sure I've got tape, and then I also have a little pouch and I've got like band-aids and stuff in there as well, and like wider tape that's not thin finger tape so that I can tape up anything else that starts bleeding. The third thing I do is make sure that I have plenty of snacks. I make sure I've got loads of Cliff Bars and stuff in my chalk bag. Editing Lulu here. I haven't actually explained that my chalk bag has pockets. My bouldering bucket from Ledura of them has 3 pockets in it. So I'm not actually putting stuff in the chalk, I'm putting it in the side pocket. Just a note. And I always have a bag with me in isolation. My favorite comp lollies are the Haribo Tang Fastics. I love them so much. I really like sour lollies for some reason. I also make sure I've had food before, and I'll have bananas and ISO because they're really good, quick energy source. And I'll also make sure that I have electrolytes and a very large bottle of water because I get really sweaty when competing. You're just really exerting yourself for the 4 minutes that you're actually on the wall, so I want to make sure that I'm staying hydrated so my muscles don't cramp up. The fourth thing I do, and probably arguably one of the most important things that I do before a comp, is I clean my shoes. So I take a microfiber cloth or like just a cloth, and I'll spray my shoes with isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, literally from Bunnings. Cleaning off my shoes basically takes off a thin layer of rubber and exposes new rubber, so it's actually nice and sticky and it isn't covered in chalk and other dust and dirt from me wearing them indoors or outdoors or whatever. And just make sure that my shoes are nice and sticky for standing on volumes and dual text holds and other small holds and whatnot. That's pretty much what I do to prep for a comp. So finally, we've actually made it to the climbing finals portion of this video. So, I actually left my bag at home, which had all my shoes, all my chalk, all my tape, everything in it. So, thankfully, I got someone to drop it off for me. So, the way finals work in pretty much all cases is the top 6 climbers go into isolation, or ISO, as we all call it, which is a separate area where you can warm up, but you're not allowed to see the climbs until you have your viewing, which is when you're let out and you can go and view the climbs, as the name implies. So luckily for us, Gladesville has a bunch of hangboards, gym area, and the spray boards are all in the isolation area. A lot of gyms during comps don't always have those facilities in their designated isolation area, depending on what gym you're at. So luckily, Gladesville has it. Sometimes you have to bring a portable hangboard or just make do with what you've got. So once you're in isolation and isolation's closed, you can't leave. Then they'll do your viewing. Everyone will get a minute to view your problems, and you view them all together. And a lot of the times, if you look at the videos, you can see people talking to each other and discussing sort of how we think the beta is going to go and what we think about the climbs, basically. After your viewing, everyone goes back, and then they start calling people out. So most of the time, it'll go in reverse order. So it'll start with the person who qualified 6th, and then go through all the way to the person who qualified 1st. I was middle of the pack. I was 4th. So honestly, I was really happy about that. A lot of the times, if you come out early, there's not going to be any chalk on the holds, so you're not really going to get an idea of where it's going to go, where you're going. And if you come out last, a lot of the time your holds are really chalky, so they're a bit more slippery than you want. So I think I lucked out and had a really good place to come out. From there, climb your climbs. So you'll get 4 minutes on the wall, and everyone does problem 1, and all climbers in the category do the second problem, and so on and so forth for the rest of them. So we had 4 problems, and you have 4 minutes to finish your problem. 4 minutes seems like a long time, but it's really not, especially with how hard some of the climbs were. So from here, I might just let you guys enjoy some videos of me climbing.
Third place, Ellen Anderson.
Come on, Layler. Come on, Layler. Yes! Yes!
Come on.
Yes!
So after comp thoughts. I'm honestly really happy with how I did. I've talked about this a fair bit on my Instagram, but I was on Accutane for 8 months. And that basically took all my strength away, and so I had to rebuild everything basically from the start, sort of. And then even after you finish your script of Accutane, there is a 6-month cool off period where it takes 6 months to leave your system. So thankfully I'm starting to feel stronger again, and I was really happy that I made finals, that I got a top in finals, and I really just fought really hard. I know what I need to work on next time, and I have another comp, a casual comp, in 2 weeks, so keep an eye out for posts and videos about that. I hope this was an enjoyable video. I hope it was an informative video. If you want to stay on the loop in these kinds of videos, click the subscribe button, turn on post notifications. If you've got any Kilter board climbs you guys want me to try, leave them in the comments down below, or any other topics that you guys would like me to cover in videos, leave them down below too. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.